The model number that we are looking at is going to be the CMIP 9C82W-28SD-B4G. The first thing is this is going to be an 8 megapixel camera, and this does have our color 24/7 technology. Do note that these color 24/7 cameras do not have a IR light. They will have a visible white light used by like a white LED that's on the camera itself. It does come with an 80-watt solar panel. This camera does not actually use that much power. This will use a 4G connection. You can put a 5G SIM card in there. It's just going to be able to go up to going to be the 4G speeds. This does have built-in storage. So here are the kind of like the ideal applications that would be using this type of camera. Here are some basic specs. Battery size you'll see right here, it is a 360 watt hour. It's basically a 12 volt, 30 amp hours. MD 2.0, which is your motion detection 2.0, human and vehicle differentiation. It will get rid of a lot of the false alarms that you would have. It is able to pick out what is most important that you really want to watch. That way you will have more days of recording time on your built-in storage. Batteries are pre-charged up to 50%. So let's kind of talk about what all parts are in this kit. So the first thing is going to be your solar panel. So it is supplying power for your camera, and it is also charging your battery. There are many different types of solar panels out there, most popular being your monocrystalline, and this is your polycrystalline. That way you are able to start charging up the battery, powering up the camera, earlier in the day, or it's able to still be charging up kind of later in the evening at dusk. It is a standard solar panel, so it does have your standard connections. These MC4 connectors are standard in the industry. These are like the batteries that it comes with. As you can see here, it has 4 batteries. This actually gives a little bit more, I would say, redundancy. So it's not like just one battery doing all the work. So yeah, it is in a nice sealed box. So, this does have a gasket all the way around it. These just kind of go on like there's like a little clip that kind of locks it in place. You can actually put a lock on there and lock this whole setup. Kind of gives it a little bit more security sense. This does come with all the brackets that you need to put it together. Solar panel and your battery will go on this end. So this is facing up. Your bottom is going to be where the camera is attached. And then this portion right here does have 2 different types of mounts, wall mount and also your pole mounts. Those are included with the kit. This is the actual bracketing that is for your solar panel. This is the portion that is holding the battery compartment. You'll see these screw holes right there. That is where this junction box will attach to. So you have the 4 screw holes. This is a 24/7 camera, meaning that it does not have any built-in IR. It does have LEDs, so it will have a visible light. Those LEDs do not need to be turned on. You can, set it on automatic, which if that's the case, it is able to go up to 98 feet. You can manually turn it on or off. Using that LED will reduce your available power. On the bottom, this cover right here, once you take that off, you will see a reset button, your SD card slot, on and off switch. Also have your SIM card slot in there. You've got that clear kind of covering where that little gear looking thing is. That is your LED that kind of tell you your status of your camera. And those lights are either going to be red or it's going to be blue, depending on your data connection. So you will need to provide a SIM card. The carriers that we have tried it with is going to be T-Mobile or Verizon. These are the frequencies that will work with this camera. You can always take this list right here of frequencies to your carrier and say, hey, do y'all support these bands? If they say yes, then you should be able to utilize their SIM card. Wiring harness. We've got this one right here. We'll be connecting it to your battery, which that battery is connected to your solar panel. RJ45, which is standard on all the cameras. If you want to kind of hardwire it, or if you're wanting to do some troubleshooting or go through the menu settings for the camera itself, then you are able to utilize this RJ45. You'll see the line in is right here, line out is right there. This camera does not have built-in speaker or built-in mic, so you will need to find a aftermarket or external solution if you're wanting to utilize that. Here is your alarm input outputs. This last cable right here, 12 volt, 1 amp out. That battery, instead of just being able to just support the camera itself, you are able to get power out doing a max of 12 watts. The storage built into the camera, it will have 64 gigs gigs of storage. This camera does have a SD card slot up to 256 gigs. So on this camera, there are 3 camera modes to support how long you want the battery to last. Your performance mode, I would like to say, is your 24-hour, your camera is on type of mode. Continuous recording, this will take the most amount of power. These are the types of detections that it's able to support when it's in that performance mode. Proactive mode is where it is going to be utilizing event style recording. Let's say you set up like your motion detection, somebody walks into that area, and that triggers the camera to turn on and start recording. This will, take up less power than the performance mode, but you are limited to only motion detection. Standby mode is going to be the last one. I would like to call this the manual mode. So it is not going to be turning on unless you take out your phone or whatever device, pull up your app, and then using that app to wake the camera up and see what's going on. This is able to also utilize a schedule capture. So if you're wanting to do kind of like time-lapse pictures, then you can actually use that in this standby mode. If we are in the web browser, here under proactive mode, you are able to set your different modes in this menu. Your camera will usually kind of reboot itself when it's changing modes. We also have a sleep setting. What that does is you can set it, for this instance, we have it set to 20%. If your battery goes under 20%, then it will actually switch that mode for you. It actually switches it to your standby mode. That way you are going to be saving power. And if that's the case, it's not going to, die on you. So you're still able to pull it up. This is our LTS Connect app. You are able to do the same 3 modes that you're able to change. So let's get to the types of mounts, wall mounts. Your wall mount is going to be this right here. Those 4 holes right there will actually go on this one right here. Next is going to be mounting to a pole. This is the main bracket. These are the bolts right here. I would say they're roughly 1.5 feet long, which is for each one of these. Here is the other part that's going to be on the back side of the poles. And then you will put a locking washer and a regular washer along with that nut. So this is the whole kit, minus the bridge, minus the NEMA box. In this case, we utilized a 2-inch in diameter pole. This whole setup is pretty heavy. We weighed it was like 80 pounds altogether. So that's including the batteries, the solar panel, the camera, all the actual bracketry that you see right here. Do utilize these straps when you're trying to mount that. Sample screenshots. This is what we have, 8 megapixel screenshot. We are able to see other metadata, the capacity of the battery, the signal strength is right there, how much data you have used. That is your subscreen view. You do have the same amount of information showing. This is the third stream, a 720 image that we have here. And so right here are going to be the actual resolutions that you're able to utilize. Here are the other metadata that we have showing for the camera. You are also able to get the voltage and information from your battery. We see it shows 12.5 volts, and then we see the amperage. This amperage is listed in either a positive or a negative number. So in this case, it is charging the battery and it's sending a 0.6 amp amount of power back to your batteries. So if you have a days of like no sunlight, you will see this amperage be in the negatives. That is the actual temperature of the camera itself. Whether you want those on your screen or not, you are able to kind of customize it. What is the ideal position of the solar panels? Since we are in the northern hemisphere, panels would be pointing south. I believe it's going to be called like a solar south or true south, not magnetic south. It's a little bit angled to your east. In this picture, we have it mounted away from the sun. And let me show you the difference that makes. You notice that, the voltage right here is at 11.8 volts. It's doing a negative 0.18 amps. Not only is it able to not be able to charge the battery, it's not even able to support the load of the camera itself. It's needing to pull 0.18 amps from the battery. And then here, I actually turned the actual whole setup around. Once I turned it around, we're still at the same 11.8, but we are at a positive 2.76 amps. It is inputting 2.76 amps of power back into the battery to charge up the battery. Is this solar camera able to power external devices? The answer of that is yes. The 12 volt output, what is it supposed to be able to support? It's going to be your flashing lights, speakers, sirens, your point-to-point antennas, and then you can also do external cameras. If they don't support 12 volts, then yeah, you can implementing boost or buck converters, but you are still limited to your 12 watts. Take this as kind of like a starting point. I would like to say that we do have a point-to-point bridge that's coming out, which is 12-volt based. Actual SIM card connection will only be able to be used for the solar camera itself. Here is the settings for when you turn on or off the power out. It is only going to be able to supply 12 volts. You're not able to configure that to where you're supplying a different voltage. What is the storage? The SD card is going to be the priority. In this case, fills up the SD card. It goes to your built-in storage. Once that built-in storage is filled up, it goes back and overwrites over the oldest stuff on the SD card. Does this camera have two-way audio? It does not have a built-in speaker. It does not have a built-in mic, but it does have connections for that. Here we have it right here, your line in and line outs. Those block terminals, you just splice it onto there, or you can even solder it. Final thoughts. So this whole kit, it does come with everything that you need. So your solar panel, your camera, all the bracketries, 2 mounting methods. I would like to once again say, make sure the actual solar panel is put in the correct direction. And also, due to having that 4G connection, you will be having a monthly continuous fee because it's just like a cell phone. You kind of pay for your monthly charge for the data and everything. Any questions? Can you add this into an existing DVR? If you're using a bridge, or if you're hardwiring it, then yes, you can add into a recorder. Can I add a Ubiquiti antenna? Yes, you can add one, but like I said, Ubiquiti, those will utilize a 24-volt power supply. Our camera is only output 12 volts. So you will need to find a way to kind of raise that voltage. If you're wanting to say, hey, can I use a standalone? Then yes, you can run a Ubiquiti antenna standalone and just utilize your RJ45 connection. What is the average data usage per month? Remember, we have 3 settings. We have the performance, we've got the proactive, we've got the standby. If you're going to be setting it to performance mode, it is sending that video 24 hours a day. Then, of course, it's going to use up more data. If you're using your proactive or your standby mode, then those will actually vary. But from our testing in our office, when we had it running, I don't think it went over like 10 gigs. Feel free to send those questions to your sales rep. If they can't answer it, they'll be able to forward it to somebody who can. I'd like to say thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.